Welcome to Financial Planning Explained. I'm your host, Mike Menninger, certified financial planner, owner, and founder of Menninger and Associates Financial Planning. I'm pleased to have a second episode with Rachael Packer, who is a senior living specialist for senior living specialists in the Philadelphia region. We talked a lot about some of the issues that come up. What does she do? She helps people getting into facilities, et cetera, which I like to pick up on. But I'd like to spend a little bit more time. One of the things that we have found when it comes to financial planning, people can relate to examples. And I think what we'll spend a lot of time in this particular episode is to go through some examples, which I'm sure will lead to things that cause people to think.
Yeah.
And so let's go back and start again with, what you do. You help families with, and I know you've done this because you've helped me before, which is what gave me the great idea of having you as a guest, is you meet with the parents and or the children, and you kind of go over options and everything else like that. Mm-hmm. And I know with the one you said, look, here's a handful of communities in the area, because you represent how many communities?
So we have contracts with about 95% of the communities in the greater Philadelphia area. So
Which is how many? Hundreds?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So basically, the beauty of it is you have no advantage of one versus the other. You're serving truly in the role of consultant.
Yeah.
Which is, what I'm a firm believer in. You figure out what's best for the other person, you help them. And typically you have the ability to figure out, okay, based on a quick overview of their finances and a quick overview of what their needs are, I saw that you provided hey, here's 5 different facilities you can check out.
Yep.
And the one former neighbor of mine that you're working with, and you had said, hey, look, you know what? Why don't you take a look at these different communities and see what you think? And I know the children looked at the communities. And so this is a great example of roadblocks you run into.
Yeah.
Okay. We got the one spouse. How would you describe it? Suffering. Did you meet the parents?
I'd never met the parents yet.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So the one spouse is suffering from very serious memory issues. Mm-hmm. Okay. Dementia.
Yep.
And the problem is it's creating, as you pointed out in the prior episode, a tremendous amount of stress to the caring spouse, who is getting on edge. Mm-hmm. And it's not healthy for him either. Mm-mm. Then to add more problems to it is that the 2 children don't agree on the solution. Right. And what's happening is nothing's happening.
Right.
What do you do?
Right. Yep. So again, our goal is to really be that advocate and that guide, and to really try to get, especially when you have a larger family, right? So you'll have multiple siblings, right? So a lot of times getting everyone to the table without the parents first, right? To figure out where's everyone coming from, right? To see how much their ideals, their reality, and the perception align, right? And so once we kind of have that out all on the table, then we can really help people to navigate the different scenarios, because we understand in most cases in my head, it can be a clear-cut scenario, right? But to the people I'm serving, it's not always, right?
Right.
It's not that easy. It's not that black or white, and we get that. So it's really about, educating them, providing them with the various resources, and giving them different scenarios to react to. And there's a lot of well, what if this happens? Well, what if the money runs out, right? And our biggest, the biggest lines we always say is, we don't have a crystal ball. Right. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the money's going to run out. We think the money could run out. We're not sure. But what do we know today? We know that health and safety today are a concern.
Correct.
That's good. That we know. That we know. So if health and safety are a concern today, if the caretaker is taxed, and if something were to happen to the caretaker before any plans are made, then what?
Right. That's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, well, what happens to him? She can't take care of herself.
Right.
That's when your hand is forced.
Right.
Now, if they're forced to go into a facility, not everyone has availability.
Right. So, a lot of the I would say the most common type of senior living in the greater Philadelphia area is like renting an apartment. It's a month-to-month contract, right? So you go in, you have a 30-day contract, right? Which means that if you needed to change something, if you needed to get out of it, right, you give a 30-day notice and you can get out of the contract, right? So there is flexibility in the senior living world, which is something I really like to provide, what I really like to educate people on, right? Especially when it comes to memory care, right? So you're not signing a life contract, right? You know that your loved one needs more care than you can provide at home, whether it's assisted living or memory care, right? And you need to figure out what is the best care for them. Maybe their meds aren't right? Maybe they're not taking them consistently because they're fighting back on you, right? So getting them into a community is going to create, again, that continuity, that consistency, that environment that takes the pressure off their loved ones, right? So then their loved ones get to be their family again. You're caretaking and loving all wrapped up in one is a lot, right? Sometimes it's okay to have somebody else take care of them so that you just get to love them. Because one of the lines I say often, wherever you decide to, let's say you're getting married to whatever partner you're getting married to, till death do us part, it's a real strong statement, right? It's a real strong statement when it comes to Parkinson's or dementia or whatever it may be. And 9 times out of 10, that caregiver didn't go to school to become
right
what they're asking to become now. So there's a lot. So they have to give themselves grace. And it's okay to ask for help and understand your resources and to know that by going into community, you're actually giving yourself a gift and your loved one a really big gift. And yeah, finances dictate a lot of this conversation.
Of course.
But sometimes I would say you have to spend the money to support both people to figure out what plan B eventually will be.
Well, basically, the other thing too is you get what you pay for. And in that particular example, they had taken a look at different communities and they said, man, in the one community, they wouldn't even send their dog there. But the other one said it was really nice. And they said, oh my goodness, how about this? Our aunt is there too. We saw her, holy cow, we saw our aunt there. So, there's that. So I'll give you another example of one that we're working with. Okay. Obviously, without using names, is I introduced you to the daughter of the parents, and she is in the medical community. She's a school nurse, actually. And, in talking to the parents that I've been working with for over 20 years, the mother is declining rapidly, but more from the memory care perspective. He's declining from a physical perspective, but so he's slowing down a little bit. He's 85. Right? What do you expect?
You're gonna slow down.
Okay. So here's what we're dealing with there, which I'm sure you deal with all the time, is they're digging their heels in. We are not moving. I do not want to go anywhere. And so, from the financial perspective, I sat and spoke with the daughter, worked with the daughter, and I said, look, they can afford anything. They were talking about, hey, maybe we carve out $50,000 to build an addition to one of the children's houses to house the parents, like a mother-daughter house, okay? Or in this case, a daughter-mother house, whatever. And then we talked about the potential of going into some type of independent, or probably assisted living. But no matter what, they will not move from their home. It's what I hear so commonly. They got their heels dug in. How do you possibly, well, there he goes back to, what do you do?
Yeah, so there's a few things, right? One of the things that I will say to the adult children is, hey, do a little bit of your own research, right? Don't tell mom and dad that you're doing the research. I'm not telling you to lie to them. Just do your own research so you know what's out there. So if something were to happen, you're not being blindsided with them at the same time, right? It's okay to do preliminary research. By coming to me and have a conversation, and I don't know if we've said this yet, I'm a free resource. Which people are like, I'm not a guardian angel. I love my job. I'm good at my job. But it costs nothing for the client to work with me. If and when we were to place somebody, we get paid by the community through a referral fee that our clients never absorb in any way, shape, or form. I also don't get paid by Community A doesn't pay me more than community B, which means, again, I'm an advocate. I'm your guide. I am your advisor through this process to really help you find out the best solution for your loved one. So come to me. Let's have the conversation. Let's at least have you understand what your resources are so that you're starting to educate yourself, right? Then when it comes to mom and dad, right? A lot of the times, when mom and dad are able to have a logical conversation, I ask them, invite me in. And sometimes I'll never even tell them who I am at first, right? I'm a senior living specialist. I'm not going to come in and say, today I'm going to move you. Like, who am I? I'm this 40-year-old walking in. What do you know, right? I just, right? And I kind of try to joke with them with that. But it's really about who are they? Who are they as people? What have their life experiences looked like, right? And just getting to understand kind of like what their wishes are, right? And then we do have the conversation about, hey, today you have independence in your decision, because people don't like to give up what? Control.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, you take away the car keys, right?
Right. I'm dealing with this in my family very, very well. Very, like with my husband's grandparents. Right. So the control factor, right? So my thing is today you have control. Today you have decision making. So why not just do a little bit of scenario planning, give your kids the gift of that. If X were to happen and I know that I couldn't be safe at home anymore, I would be okay with what? Right? No one has to do anything today, but I think it's really about the gift that you can give to your children.
So you're having this discussion with the parents who are beginning to suffer with the dementia or whatever,
or homes no longer safe. Yeah, if homes starting to become no longer safe, but they haven't seen that yet, then we just start to scenario plan,
right?
Because at the end of the day, if having control is an important thing, then right now you have the control. Let's plan that out. But I also talk to them. But if X happens, your control could go away.
Well, but at least in a way, they're in control in that they're controlling the fate of they're controlling the decision of their own fate.
Yep.
So it may not be I'm in control that I have to go to assisted living, or I'm in control that I'm in control of the decision that if I get to that point, then I've made the decision that I want to build that mother-daughter thing on the house.
Yep.
And so that gives them the feeling of control, because the day is going to come. However, they just, gosh darn it, they resist it. And it's like, is it not that it's the same, but admission is step one of any 12-step program, right?
Yes.
Well, they're never going to admit that they have a problem, or do they? I don't know.
Not a lot.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, I never want to hear someone say to me, "Hey, Rachel, I should have listened to you," and I'm never gonna tell anybody I told you so, right? And that's not my job, right? I mean, I will say that as I am growing in this profession, right? Again, my job is to guide you. I'm not going to tell you this is exactly where you should go, right? But I'm getting stronger in my convictions, and I will say, hey, today I'm okay with this conversation. Tomorrow, though, if you call and you say, Mom fell down the steps, she escaped, I didn't know, those are called, but I tell people, those are red flags for me. And I'm going to be a little bit stronger in my guidance and say, hey, it's time to ramp it up, right? So, I do think that eventually people do come to a reality factor, right? And not everything has to be so doom and gloom. Like, I'll go back to an example Mike and I were talking about. I have a very good friend whose mother lives in a local community. Her husband, unfortunately, died of Alzheimer's. She lived at home. She liked being at home by herself. She liked being with her dogs, but she always wanted her family there, but her family's always busy, right? Unfortunately, she has a fall. She falls. She can't go back home safely. So, and none of her daughter's houses were equipped to have her move there. So she moved into a community, begrudgingly.
Of course.
Right, begrudgingly.
Oh, my goodness.
Right, and she will still nudge her kids about it. However, though, on 2 separate occasions just recently, and she's been there for about 18 months. She's been there for a while. Her daughter calls her one day, wants to come visit, and she says to her daughter, hey, hon, maybe not this afternoon. The live music's coming, and I want to be there with my girlfriends. It brought tears to my eyes. Like, in my mind, her mom's not home alone looking at her dogs or questioning when her family's going to come and visit her. She's in a community, moving her body, moving her mind, engaging in an activity that makes her smile. Like, that's life at 85. right? You still need to be smiling and moving and engaging at 85 on this earth. Second scenario, I went in the one day, I saw her there. She was getting ready for the live entertainment again. She's dressed up. She had her makeup done, sitting with her friends. And it was just like, it was heartwarming. Like, there is a beauty to this. There is a beauty to them, to people having connection outside of their homes, being alone. Like, loneliness is not our answer.
Well, it's funny because you bring up two examples that I've encountered. One was the mother was kicking and screaming, but the daughters said, got no choice, got to send you there, couldn't stand it. All of a sudden, to your point, she's happier than she ever was in her own home.
Right.
And then I have another example of, and I guess, two people who were really bad influences on each other. And he died. She ended up going to assisted living. And all of a sudden, her health just shot through the roof. I mean, she was in certainly not good health, but all of a sudden, she's getting meals every day. She's getting her meds given to her every day. She's out with other folks.
Yeah.
She went from an old 73 to a young 75.
Right, because you have a little bit of consistency, you have a schedule, right? But in two, you go into these communities and they have OT and they have PT, right? So there's like built-in support systems to, again, it's about keeping your body in motion, keeping your mind in motion, staying stronger, right? Reducing risk.
Right.
And that's what you're doing. You're reducing risk that increases happiness.
Well, and the other thing too is that it's the endorphins. You get your body moving. If you find what happens, like you said, if you're sitting here only talking to your dog while you're watching TV, then you're really not doing your body a very good favor, if that's the right word.
Right.
So we're going to pick up with a couple more examples. We'll be back with you in just a few moments. Stay tuned.
Do you keep up regularly with your investments? Where exactly are your hard-earned dollars going? Are you financially prepared for an emergency?
I'm Mike Menninger, founder of Menninger and Associates Financial Planning. We believe that education and knowledge are powerful, and we want our clients to understand why we are making the recommendations that we make. It's your money, and you deserve to know where it's going, because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So call us today to discuss your financial concerns. Welcome back to Financial Planning Explained, as we're wrapping up the segment and just chatting during the break. And we're talking about planning, and what is this? Financial Planning Explained is the title of the show. And what we do is we do the financial planning, but really everything should be planned out. We help clients plan for retirement. We help clients plan financially. We help them say, hey, what's your intent? Do you plan on downsizing? Do you plan on moving? How much do you plan on spending? But what people have a tendency not to plan on is planning on aging. And that's what we were talking about. Yeah. So you pick it up from there.
It's very interesting. Like, people, and I can't take credit for this. The big raging podcast right now is Mel Robbins, right? Mel Robbins is a big podcaster, and she had a woman on there, and she was talking about how people, we keep on using this word like anti-aging, right? And she's like, basically was talking about like flipping the script, right? Flipping what we know, like it's okay to age. Like, you can actually age with strength and dignity and wisdom, because you have wisdom from all your years, right? It's not about staying younger. It's about aging with health and wealth and wisdom, right? And with that is planning to do it safely. And to be realistic, right? Be realistic about where you are, and that you may or may not have limitations. But if limitations do arise, do your loved ones around you know what they are? It's really about having these active conversations with your families as you're aging, right? Like, do you know who your parents' POA is? Really, do you? Like, have you had the conversation, right? It's not just about them like, I'm the executor of mom or dad's will. Great. That's after the fact. I need to know that you have a POA established.
That's power of attorney.
Thank you. There you go.
Medical power of attorney.
Medical power of attorney.
Medical directives, living will.
Love it. Do your kids, do your family know do they know where that information is? Do they know what it says? Do you even have a document that, again, I went back to this earlier, like, if X happens, I I want this, right? If I get a terminal illness as I age, I want to do this, right? Like, I think that we're in an age that stop having people guess what you want.
Right.
Tell them what you want. Write it down. Again, it's like a gift that you can give to somebody. So when you're sitting at the financial planning table with Mike and you're 65 or 70 and you're retiring, hey, I hope you have enough assets to go to Italy and do all the great things, because you should, right? But also know that how you want to age and how your health is.
And take that all into consideration. And it's the soft part of financial planning.
Yeah.
And, it's one of the things that we always do tell our clients, kind of go in with a plan. Not so much a plan per se, but plan on doing something, okay? And what I love to hear is amazing, and I do hear this, is the most common thing I hear from retirees is, I am so busy now, I have no idea how I was ever able to do this when I was working.
Yeah.
And they're loving it and they're enjoying it. However, on the reverse side of that is go in with a plan of doing something as opposed to a plan of doing nothing.
Right.
Because watch how quickly your health declines if you find yourself sitting on the couch eating potato chips, watching TV all day.
Yep.
Okay. And to your point, it's longer term planning, which really goes hand in hand with us. And it's a fresh reminder. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a fresh reminder that people need to be thinking about this. Now, we always take that into consideration. Do people want or need long-term care insurance? Insurance is a funny thing. Okay. The more you're paying for it means the more likely something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And people don't like to pay, people don't like to pay any insurance premiums. Mm-hmm. But long-term care insurance has gotten prohibitively expensive. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I do say about long-term care insurance is, don't plan on getting all that you need for the long-term care. So for instance, if we're looking at a facility that might be $300 a day, which is $9,000 a month, you don't have to over-insure. You don't have to insure for $9,000 a month, because in reality, if you had to go to a facility, you still have your Social Security, you may have a pension, you may have some assets that can generate income. What it's doing is it's preventing the rapid eating up of your assets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the one thing we like to impress upon with long-term care is you don't have to go for the whole thing. Just get enough to protect your assets. Mm-hmm. But you take that into consideration. And there are people who have enough money that they don't actually need to buy long-term care.
Right.
Because, say need is a funny word, but they choose not to, because if they're wealthy enough and have enough revenue from pensions and stuff, that even if they went into a facility, they wouldn't be wiping out their assets.
Right.
Okay. I do say that it's the people, and the people who don't have any money, they really can't do anything. It's the people who are in the middle, who are the ones who are getting caught a little bit. So give me another example. Yeah. I'll give you one example that I'm dealing with. A very close client of mine. Parents live in North Carolina, and they got their heels dug in. Every time one of the children comes down, we're not leaving. They feel as, and last Christmas, all 3 kids came down, and they thought that was Armageddon. They're all ganging up on us to take us from our home. It's not the case. But the other thing that's happening is the one is beginning to suffer more and more from Alzheimer's, dementia, or whatever the case is, but experiencing one of those traits that you hear about a lot and is getting very, I don't want to say violent, but aggressive behaviors to the husband.
Yeah.
And so there's coming a point where, what do you do now?
Yeah. My quick answer, in this scenario, behaviors happen for a reason, right? Behaviors happen because the person can't express how they're feeling, and they're agitated and they're angry. And then the person supporting them, again, does not have a degree in memory care diagnosis, right? So a lot with dementia is a lot of it's around behavior modification, right? Behavior modification, redirecting, right? Redirecting their energy, redirecting their thoughts, redirecting their anger is there's a beauty in it. It's not just about, oh, take a pill, the behaviors will go away. It's behavior modification with med management, right? Again, not a doctor, but in my world of what I do, right? So in that scenario, it's gonna hurt to rip the Band-Aid, but you need to really protect, you need to not let it progress too much further. And you have to just, unfortunately, make tough decisions knowing that people are gonna be angry for a minute, but they're gonna forget. And in many cases, I've seen happier people inside a community than at home.
Oh, I know that.
Because of the support. And
You see it more often than not, but they're afraid.
yeah.
And they're afraid to the point where you're sending me to where old people are to die.
Right.
And it's a mantra that sticks with it, and it's unfortunate. Rachael, this has been terrific. We got 2 episodes in.
Yep.
I think you are a godsend to all people who would be in need of your service, because I know you care, you have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of experience, you know all the communities. What I'd like you to do is just take a look in the camera and just tell real quick kind of about yourself, how people can get a hold of you, etc.
Yep. So, like I said, Rachael Packer, I'm a senior living specialist, but I work with an amazing team. There's 5 of us, and we all have our individual clients, but we work together as a team, and we really try to figure out the approaches for our clients. So if you need to get a hold of me personally, you can reach me at 717-623-6779. Our website is seniorlivingspecialistphilly.com. We have a Facebook page called Senior Living Philly, and you can also find us under LinkedIn under that same name. So we are here to help you, and it's all about making a plan.
Do me a favor. Say that phone number slowlier.
Yep. No
Slowlier. You like that?
Slowlier, yes. I have to remember to talk slowlier often. My number is 717-623-6779.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
This was terrific.
Yep.
We all have to deal with this. We all know somebody who's dealing with it. And for all you know, you may have to deal with it for yourself or get your children involved for yourself. This is absolutely something that we don't like to plan for, but we have to plan for, or at least take it into consideration. So thank you again, Rachael. I hope everybody learned a little something from today, and do not underestimate the planning needs. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day now.